Hello everyone, Zelrant here, and today I thought I'd take a quick look and kind of discuss what we can expect when we get the standard rate-up banner, and kind of go into what my plans are on the standard banner if someone is still unsure of how they want to approach pulling on it. So when we go over to recruitment, what we will be getting on the patch is here on the standard procurement banner. We will get a little button here that lets you select it, and then you can either target one of the standard dolls or one of the standard weapons to be the rate-up item that you will have a 50-50 shot of getting when you pull. If you don't get them the first time, you will be guaranteed to get them on the second time. First advice here is do not be targeting weapons at this point until you are settled with your current characters. And the big reason is getting one copy is good enough at this point if you've already gotten it. As well as getting, if you lose a 50-50 to one, it's still a good thing to do that way. And then down the road, once you start maxing out your T-Dolls, you can start looking at getting dupes, because some of them are very good. Like, for example, QJ's Golden Melee weapon at 5 dupes is extremely good on her with the amount of extra damage it provides. But at this point, the dupes on the standard units are much better than the weapons themselves. Now, when it comes to looking at the units you want to target, so right now this will not go away. For those that were wondering on this, when we get this rate up banner, this one where you get to grab one after 260 pulls will still be there, and so it's separate from the rate up banner. So as you do the rate up banner, when you hit the 260, you will be able to select one that you can guarantee from here as well. So don't worry about having to pull up to this if you haven't already. It will still be there once we get the rate up banner. Now, when it comes to targeting the dolls, there's a couple of things I'm looking at when it comes to pulling on them. The first thing is, and right off the bat, this is, I think everybody should already know this advice, you are not going to want to target Sabrina, because Sabrina is literally the easiest one to get in the game. Every 2 months, you'll be able to get one copy through the boss battles. And so you will eventually get her V6 within a year. So there's no reason to target her at all. So just make sure to not pick her. And then the other one, and this one, I think I stirred up a little bit of a controversy on this with the mystery box and stating you can farm to try and get a V6 Parita. While it is true, and I understand a lot of people's arguments for not wasting experience on that when you're just trying to level up your characters, I do feel within a few months it will be possible to semi-farm for her using your excess XP that you end up getting over time once you've maxed out all your characters and weapons, because you're just simply going to get XP at a quicker rate than you're going to need it in the future. So Parita is one that I would shy away from. Now, in the future, if Cluke is coming out, and for some reason I have not gotten a copy from the mystery box, like stupidly unlucky, and I haven't gotten a copy as a lost 50-50 or any place, I will end up targeting her on this banner just to get one single copy, because she will be extremely good with Cluke, in that Cluke's AoE damage attacks can be utilized to trigger a lot of her support actions. And the big thing with her V6 is it goes up from 6 to 10 support actions, but having those 6 on the first copy is just good enough to get going on it. So I will make sure I get a copy of her and will target her on this banner if I need her. But I would advise going for her right this second, because she is not going to see her value jump up until Cluke comes out. And that kind of leaves the other ones that you can only get through lost 50-50s and or getting them on this banner, and that's going to be QJ, Tololo, Mosin Nagant, and Vepley. Now, 2 of these characters, I'm going to say if you don't have one of them, or if you don't have both of them, they're going to be immediate targets, and that's going to be Tololo and QJ, with QJ being the biggest one. If you don't have her, you definitely want to get her at this point, because QJ is one of the best units within the platoon boss battles. So you have that, and she just all around good in all other content. Tololo is similar in that she can move around and do a lot as well. She's going to lose her value here as we start getting more units, but down the line, Tololo is going to be a big one that you're going to want to get dupes for, because she, when Springfield comes out, she becomes extremely good, and I'd say even better than QJ once you get her to V2. And so now that's when you're looking at targeting them, now we want to kind of think about what dupes are you going to want to target on here. And so we can take a look at the units I currently have and the ones I'm targeting, and then what my plans are after I actually get those targets. So the first person I am pulling for, even though I already have a copy of QJ, is I will be targeting to get her V3 as soon as possible. So I will do all of my polls on QJ until I get her V3. And then after that, I'm going to move on to something else. And the big reason for getting her V3 right now is because we don't have all of her other units out or her expansion key. And so what the V3 does is makes her work extremely well with Sharkery, in that when she does her action support attacks, it'll apply Overburn on the target for 2 turns, and then action support's damage is increased by 10%. So you just have that flat 10% damage increase, and then she can apply Overburn, and as we know with that, Overburn will trigger Sharkery's support actions. And Sharkery is still, even in CN at this point, I'm seeing videos where she is still used as a core member of the team. So QJ being able to trigger her support actions on her own is really nice. It makes it where you don't need Krolik, for example, to do it, or you don't need Exina. So you don't need any of the other fire units to do it. Those two can go together, and they can work hand in hand. And so you can do kind of that mix-up team of, say, right now, a Macchiato, Suomi, QJ, Sharkery team, or something to that capacity. And so that's the first target. After that, my other target will be, and I think this is a good one for everybody else, but this one is less important at this point, but it will be a target for everybody, is getting Tololo's V2. Now, if you really like Tololo and she's your favorite character and you don't really care about going all the way in on QJ, this is something you can go for right off the bat, and that will be her V2. And the big thing on V2 is for her Supernova Impact, her physical attack, if under the effect of three or more buffs, which is very easy to do in this game, this attack deals hydro damage. So now all of her attacks are hydro damage, and then additionally gain 1 point of Confectance Index. And so what's great with this is she now does hydro damage on it, and as you know, you get extra Confectance Index. The important part of this is going to be when Springfield comes out. With this being that way and her at V2, it will be possible to get it where you can have her get an extra turn every single turn. Rather than having to wait for her Confectance Index to get maxed out over time, when Springfield comes out at V1 and her at V2, you can have an extra turn every turn with her. The next target, big target, will be her V4. And this one is really, really big. But to me, it's a high investment on her right off the bat. You might want to just wait until Springfield before you really want to push for this. And I'll kind of explain how I plan to do that. But this one is when she gets an extra action, she gets a targeted attack, which is increased 20%. You get crit raced boot, so it increased crit rate of 20%. And phase damage 20%, and piercing 2%, so ignores 30% of the target's even. This is absolutely massive on her. But it only triggers during her extra action. Now, this is really good right now. I mean, if you could get to this right now, it's going to be good. But this is going to become extremely good for her once we get Springfield, because she's going to then be able to get an extra action every single turn. And if set up correctly, from what I understand, you'll also actually on her first turn be able to do 2 extra actions. So this one is going to be kind of that second target. Now, how I plan to do it, though, and if I'm lucky, I only have, if we go here, we'll go take a look at recruitment. If I'm lucky, I only have 200 polls, so it's not like I'm going to get both QJ to V3 and her to V2 likely within this many polls, so I'm probably have to go polls from there. But the reason I target V2 and V3 on her and not go all the way to V4 is I actually plan to start saving my standard polls after I get those breakpoints on both of them. And the reason being is I will be polling on other units. I'll be polling on Diane, or I've already polled on Diane. I'll be polling on Dush. I'll be polling on Lena, and as well as other people. You'll be polling on other characters as well. And you will lose 50-50s. And the big thing is you want to make sure lost 50-50s, if you get a Tololo or you get a QJ, you're getting your value out of that lost 50-50. And this is one reason I'll say you don't want to, like, if QJ is your favorite character, she's definitely my favorite of the standards. But the main reason, even though her V6 is good, her V5 is good, like all of her extra ones after 3 are good and will increase her damage. The problem is if I push her all the way to, like, say, V6 to just max out her damage right now, what'll suck is if you lose a 50-50 and you get a QJ, yeah, you get a little bit of extra pulls back from that because you already have her maxed, but it's a lot of lost value. And so my plan is after I get my 2 like actual in-use units right now with QJ and Tololo to V2 and V3 respectively, I'm just going to save my standard pulls and continue saving them. And so I'll just start stockpiling them in the same way that I've done it here. And then as I pull on characters, I will then make a decision on ones I want to specifically target based on what I get from Lost 50/50s. One big example that I've already stated here is Parita. If I don't have a copy of Parita by the time Kluke is announced to come out, if I have pulls saved up, I can just throw them on here to get a copy of Parita. Let's say I lose my 50/50s and I might get QJ to V5. Maybe once Vector comes out, I may be more, or Vector or someone else comes out on the burn side after Kluke. Then I may be inclined to, okay, let's just push her to V6 at this point so I can really maximize the burn team since it's starting to come together at this point. Same thing with Tololo. Oh, Springfield's coming out. I have enough pulls coming. I have enough pulls. Let's go ahead and push her from V2 to V4 now so I can really ramp up that damage. And then we also have another standard unit that will be coming out on scene. I believe they got 1 copy of her for free, and that is Faye. She is a physical damage, physical user that uses a pistol, and she can amplify physical damage. From what I've seen, she's not that good even with her dupes. But we never know. If the physical team seems to be kind of coming together where you might have more amplifiers. So maybe you want to save up pulls to get her. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on this. I don't think you should just, once you kind of get settled in what you want in your characters, I think you kind of just start stockpiling some pulls. Now, one character I really haven't mentioned here is Mosin Nagant. One big thing with her is she's a character I do want to get V6. She's definitely a unit I want to get V6. But she has that problem in that I don't want to push her to V6 right now, because if I push her all the way to V6, and you get Lost 50/50s that push her that way, well, then those are a waste as well. And so I will be holding off on pushing on her until I see maybe I lose a couple more 50/50s and I get a couple more copies. Because I got her V1 from the Lost 50/50, and maybe I'll get lucky on a couple more Lost 50/50s and get like V2, V3. And then I may push some more on her because she really doesn't start ramping up. I believe is it V3? Or which one is it here? Oh no, it's her V4 is where she actually starts becoming more valuable, especially on the electric team, because active engagement basically attacks deal electric damage, increasing damage dealt by 30% effective once this buff cannot become cleansed. So the big thing is it makes all of her support actions do electric damage versus physical. And so she's really not valuable into V4. So I really don't want to push for dupes of her until I at least get to maybe 2 or 3. And then I can see getting down here in the horizon. Because really what you want is her V6. Because her V6 makes it where she can do another support action. And she does the support actions when there is an electric debuff applied to the enemy. And so it makes it much easier to trigger for her and increases her damage quite a bit. But that's down the line, and that's the way I view it. I really don't need my Mosin Nagant at this point until I've already gotten some out of her, or I start maxing out some of my other units. If I max out like my Tololo and my QJ, then I might start targeting getting Mosin Nagant. But that's long term, and that's looking maybe a year from now once we get into the current units that CN has. So that is the reason with Mosin Nagant. It's kind of similar to Vetle. We haven't seen what her expansion keys is yet, so I really don't plan to pull on her until we really get that known. Her duplicates aren't that necessary either. You can use Veple at V0 and kind of get the full value you want out of her without needing to get dupes. And so I'm not really going to pull on her. Now, I'll probably lose 50/50s to her and get some more dupes of her, so that's always good there as well. But yeah, that is just kind of some of my thoughts on the dolls and how I'm going to be approaching it. I know a lot of people are probably not going to want to go that way, because once we get that rate up, it's not like the banner gets any better, so I think people are just always going to be dumping their pulls. So I think your biggest thing is just make sure not to go straight to V6 on any specific unit, because then you lose a lot of value if you lose a 50/50 to that unit in the future. So I would try and keep it a little bit balanced, at least on, to me, the main 3 or 4, which would be Mosin Nagant, Tololo, and QJ. And if you're really wanting to push Parita up, then you can kind of put her into the mix as well, because her V6 is going to be really important for Kluke when she comes out. But yeah, that is just some of my thoughts on the standard banner. Just let me know in the comments what your plans are with the standard banner, or if you disagree with me on some of that. I know I did get a lot of disagreements from people on me going for that mystery box polls, but yeah, just let me know if that's if anyone disagrees with my plans here. But yeah, if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.